Okay, a quick look through Wednesday's morning screens. Just going to buzz through these today because it's a pretty interesting day for us. It's interesting areas in the market we've been talking about, and I just thought I'd just fire up the live and share it. A little bit of doom and gloom out there this week as the markets have been pulling in. So we've got a potential swing day playing out here, and I'm just going to quickly explain what a swing day is. You know, this is the lowest day of the pullback. Swing day is when it takes out that day and closes above it. You know, yesterday closed back below it. So that's the FTSE 100. We're looking at a level of, well, this is the level in the 250 up here. On the fully listed small caps, we're looking for yesterday's opening range to be taken out. Obviously, we're inside day there, and the DAX is clearly the leader on this move today. I'll just jump to the US markets intraday, and then I'll just go through them one by one. So basically, you're looking at yesterday's opening range, and these white lines here are yesterday's opening range. That is the level what you want to see taken out today on all but the industrials, which is this high here. So the markets can sort of move through there and close above there. You know, that would be a potential that this pullback is just garden variety. No crystal balls, as we know, but I will tell you that now that every low is put in with a swing point. So let's just buzz through these markets. It's extremely quiet out there in social media at the moment, in FinTwit. It usually is when the market's terrible. So I'll just buzz through these. Transports, you know, Dow theorist leader. Not really leading, is it? It's just broke out, dip back in, and it's just going sideways, bottom of its range. What about the industrials? Yeah, you know, when you see a double top, you draw a pullback and you draw a baseline. Well, you draw a baseline and you expect a pullback. That's the best way of putting it. And we got the pullback. You know, we drew this line in, you know, when the industrials came up to this level here, we drew this pullback line in because that's what we expect. Went through this in detail last night, obviously. It doesn't mean that it's not just going to trade up through that level and it just be a higher high. But it's good to see base in action. You know, it's consolidation rather than, you know, downtrend. As with the S&P, you know, you see a double top, you think you draw a baseline, you think it's going to be a potential base, and it pulls back in, and you get a swing day on volume, even better, and off it goes on its journey again, first retrace. So we've been going sideways on the S&P as well, and we'll just jump to the NASDAQ, but just notice it's coming into some interesting levels, and, you know, those who like candlestick patterns will be shouting hammer at the chart there. Not so much on the NASDAQ 100. I'll just quickly nip over to the NASDAQ comp. We'll have a look at that. Yeah, the NASDAQ comp's down on the lows of the base there. And you know that, you know, we're basically babysat by the US markets, aren't we? So we do dislocate once in a while, but and we have done really. You know, look at the FTSE 100 and the DAX. Europe's had a really good little move in the blue chips, as the US has been sort of just drifting sideways. Small caps obviously lower in the risk fountain. So yeah, it's, you know, it's not a surprise to see the Russell doing that when the other market's going sideways. It's pretty normal. Into the DAX, yeah, you know, look at that move on the DAX there. FTSE 100. I always zoom this out and say, you know, people think the FTSE 100 can't trend. And well, clearly it can. It's done some pretty good trending moves in its past, hasn't it? But yeah, it went sideways since 22 to 24. It kind of reminds me of going back to 2014. Was it 2014? Yeah, 13, 14. It just went sideways forever and a day before going on a little bear move lower. Not the best market to follow. If you like nice orderly trending stocks, you're going to be looking at, you know, the 250 is probably going to be a better market to follow. 250 been on a bit of a wild ride, hasn't it, the last few years? But it's, you know, just been going sideways. 12 months sideways. And the small caps, 12 months sideways. Yeah, something like that. Getting on for. So yeah, we've just been going sideways in a range, and I'll just bring the aim up. I trade a lot of, you know, the higher growth stocks are found in the AIM market, and you know, we did fine. We've been doing okay. We're trading against. Here's a big point for you here. The last time, need a little jingle for this, don't I? The last time the AIM all share traded 52-week closing high was over 40 months ago. Think about that. We've been trading against this market for over 3 years, 3.5 years. Guess what? You know, it does get better than this. It really does. You know, you get those kind of markets where everything works, and you know, every style prints money. All mistakes are, you know, the market lets you off all these bad mistakes. Yeah, we've been in a market where only people who've really got their you know, they know how to grind, can grind out returns, and that's what we've been in. You know, you just can't argue with that. This was an absolutely fantastic market from around here, and you know, the outliers from post-pandemic sort of trend ran out of steam here. You know, that 12 months, 12, 18 months sort of period, you know, fantastic. With 40 months with it going down. And we was covering this last night. You know, we had a really good, as a group at Trading Bases, we had a really good year last year. Everyone was sort of in sync with the leaders out there, and we did okay. So I've drawn a baseline on this. Yeah, let's see if it can hold these lows. If it goes lower, I will draw a new baseline. You know, it will just be basically here, though. It won't make much difference. So that's your line on the AIM at the moment. Let's just jump into gold. Gold, obviously, lots of good gold stocks in the UK at the moment. The gold stocks in the UK, especially the small to mid caps, trade lovely and orderly. If you look at the gold stocks in the US market, they're more sort of efficient. They trade like blue chip UK blue chips, really, don't they? You don't get that really linear sort of orderly trending action in them as you do in the UK ones. But yeah, you know, just go and have a look at SRB or, you know, some of the others, GFM, MTL. We might see a few in the screens, but gold's had a really good move. You know, I know everyone's calling topping it again. You know, I trade the stocks. Sometimes the gold makes a really good move and the stocks don't take part. It is what it is. Sometimes the stocks do take part, and at the moment they're doing fine. From there, I'll just jump straight into oil. You know, it's been teetering on this edge for ever and a day. You know, it's knocking on the door again, isn't it? You know, every pop on oil into this big supply zone kind of thing, it's just been knocked back down. And yeah, it might hold. I know everyone got uber bullish on oil here. Here's a real simple sort of thing again. the first step of the ladder. This is 6-month closing highs. You know, when did it last, you know, really trade above that? It put one close in there and then dip back in. So, you know, if oil's going higher, it's got to take the first step on the ladder. This was the first step on the ladder back in 2020. It hasn't done that yet. You know, it had a little bump here. This is 52-week highs, you know. You know, the next step after 6-month highs is 52, and obviously it didn't make it. It did make it here, and it went on a nice run. So there's a reason you're not seeing any oil stocks. You know, let's just leave it at that. You know, it's pretty simple, isn't it? You're not seeing any oil stocks because oil's not in an uptrend. It's, you know, this is just noise. Moving on from that, I'll just quickly go up to Bitcoin. Keep it dead simple. This game, you know, it doesn't matter what you're trading, whether you're an investor, whether if you're trading for a price move, price appreciation, you know, every stock, every product you trade, it doesn't matter what it is, it's going to trade highs and it's going to do pullbacks. And you know, if you just went back and said, looked at all your positions you've taken in the past and you just traded a breakout and the first pullback to that breakout, you know, let me know how you go, because I say it will improve your, it will just improve your results no end. Never trading against the trend, trading breakouts, first pullbacks. And this is Bitcoin. Let's just take it back. Let's do a, you know, breakout, 6-month closing highs, first pullback, based out again, breakout, first pullback, based out again, breakout, first pullback, second pullback, off on its journey. You know, this is where you just keep trailing your stop until it knocks you out. Let's go again. This is a very sort of risky undertrend breakout it did here, and it closed. You know, I want to see coil in action under 6-month highs, really, not down in the depths. So we ignore this. It came all the way back up here. It's a big move. And then it came all the way back down. And then it built a base under 6-month highs. It broke out. It did a first pullback. Off it went on its journey. Let's go back to the last one. This last one's it. You know, go back to ShareScope. You know, when Bitcoin was pulling back, I drew these levels in ShareScope. They're still in ShareScope. You know, you'll find them in the history if you go under the date 2022, probably April, May 22. Level in Bitcoin to look at. This was the sort of, it's a zone. It's, you know, this isn't an exact science, and we don't buy into weakness either. Pullback came right in. It actually dipped a bit lower than what I drew, but you know, that was the zone we put in. Came up, went through 6-month closing highs. First base we got was here. It broke out. It did a first pullback. And even from this first pullback, that was a pretty big move. What have we got now? We got another base. It broke out. We've got a pullback. Now, when it comes to Bitcoin, this is a chart what has gone from very hard to trade, very hard to even get access to trade, inefficient product. Inefficient means it walks to the beat of its own drum. And inefficient stocks are going to be less liquid, they're going to be harder to do business in, but they're going to trend smoother. The ones what have interest will anyway. And that's where you get this really nice sort of trending action. It gets more efficient here. Still trends nice and I'll just take the log scale off so you can see the multiples of risk there. You know, it's easy to think that those early ones were the biggest ones, and they were, but you know, the multiples of risk from this one here, it was a huge move, as was this was a huge move. So back on the log scale. So yeah, and now it's just you know, everyone can trade it now. It's available through ETFs and all that, and you know, it's just hard for me to think that this is going to make an inefficient move when it's a very efficient product now. And it's a very technically traded product as well, isn't it? But, you know, that was your entry, that was your pullback. We got like a little base cheat here. You know, you could have cheated the bigger base, breakout, pullback. We've got another level there for another breakout. Will it survive? Watch for a swing day. What you want to see on, I'm 1 day delayed on this, but this is what you want to look for. It just climbing this level here and closing above there. That's what you want to see. And that could be the start of the new move in Bitcoin. Moving on from there, TLT. It's holding the levels, isn't it? Let's just throw this on a monthly chart and onto a weekly. And then I will just jump into what's up on the day. Quick sneak peek of what you might be seeing in tonight's end of day screens. We're running a bit slow here. I've got a lot running in the background. So just take it to a clean chart. We've got a very busy up on day screen. So 68 stocks, what are up on day, that means they're actually in an uptrend as well. I'm just gonna alter this a little bit more so I can just filter that list down so it doesn't take me forever and a day. Oh, I filtered it down to 59. Right, I'm going to order it by sector, and I'm just going to, obviously you can't see the list, but financials have been doing well all the way through this pullback. Industrial metals, precious metals, and a healthy mix. We've got the expected to see these yesterday actually, but we didn't. The defense stocks. Rolls-Royce. Let's just pull this back again. Something. The hardest thing for me to teach to investors is to do business on your own terms, not to do business on the back of tips, newspaper tips, whatever. Do business on your own terms. If you can see it with your eyes, that's actually happening. If someone's writing about it in a newspaper, they're just telling you what they want to tell you about a stock. You know, where the rubber meets the road is, what is the stock doing? I will tell you now that every stock, what goes on a big trend, will break out. So, you know, Rolls-Royce, this is where Rolls-Royce went through our screens. We drew a baseline, we saw the base was coiling up, and this is where it went through our screens. So those at my site who are riding Rolls-Royce were riding it from back there. It based out again, it gapped through. We've got a continuation gap there. Through 52-week highs, you could call it a breakaway gap. It based out again for months. We got another pro gap there. Breakout, first pullback. Breakout, first pullback came early. Continuation gap again. So yeah, you know, it's not losing altitude, but it's losing momentum. You know, it's not trending as strongly as it was doing. You can see the, you know, the base and then the really strong trend, the base, the really strong trend, first pullback. You know, stage 3 base, I would call that stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. Once you get into the stage 4s and stage 5s, you start to get this more, I wouldn't say it's volatile yet, but it's less orderly. It starts to get a little bit looser. The patterns start to sort of become less defined. And, you know, that it doesn't mean it can't just click its heels and off it goes again on another really strong trending run. You know, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, you know, if you're involved from anywhere in this stage 1, stage 2, or this first pullback here, you've got a huge cushion. You've probably had to sort of vol target it a little bit, because that would be huge, and for your own psychology. And yes, you know, it will be dominating the portfolio. That means you've done everything right, you know, and you've got cushion. I'll tell you how much cushion you've got. It could halve in price tomorrow and you would still make a huge profit. That is how much cushion you've got from these early entries. So have a think about that. You never want to be coming to anything on the back of someone who's telling you about it in the news or whatever. You know, it's not an exact rule. You know, I'll tell you now, I'll be looking at a breakout one day, and then someone will write an article on it in a popular newspaper or whatever on the same day. It happens. But more often than not, it's, you know, you look at the chart and you say, well, my entry was, you know, the news comes out. The news follows the move is what I'm trying to say. You know, we call it the story zone. It tends to, a good trending stock will get all the stories. You know, that's not a good place to execute, is it? You can see this thing has still got the history of my charting going all the way back to 2003 there. There you go, well off piste, talking about trends. We'll go through these stocks. The banks are doing well. We talked about Stan, you know, did a bit of a masterclass on this. Yeah, sometimes they break out, shallow pullback, and off they go. That was the first of the banks to leave the station, the leader in that space. Let's just move through. Coca-Cola went a few weeks ago. Yeah, we talked about buying breakouts on FTSE 100 stocks. It is kind of needle in a haystack, the ones what actually trend like that. Let's just buzz through the rest of these. IMI here. Yeah, big line in the sand. It's broken out. We talked about it on the breakout because it hit our screens. This will hit the swing screens today if it can close above that sort of pullback low. Spectris, obviously, you know, it's gapped up here. We call this an early bird. If you're trying to buy a pullback just after this gap, you know, it might want to go sideways for quite some time. I'll throw it on the list is futile. So I can have a look at the growth on that one later, or lack of, maybe. It's got a bit. I'm not sure why the turnover's down on Spectris, but it might be the reason that the pre-tax is going up. It might be just something they've offloaded. Answers on a postcard. Let's just fly through the rest of these while we're at it. Weir Group, another one today. You know, I bought that. You know, I'm a swing trader in these liquid stocks, and because they whip up and down, you know, they're very efficient. And it traded a swing move. It's pulling in again, a second pullback. The position trader wants to buy the breakout or the pullback. If you're going in for the longer term hold, you want to try and get the early entries, don't you? AAZ, as mentioned, there's a lot of good growth stocks out there. Mentioned this one in the chat this morning. There's a lot of good oil, good gold mining small caps out there. This is kind of, I've got no forward numbers on it for a start. Turnover was axed on this thing last year, so you know, it's not going up on growth. Not in my screens, it isn't anyway. It's going up on stories of growth, I suppose. But I think there's lots better out there. I have a position in GFM, so been holding that one from for a while actually. Sovereign metals, a very thin, choppy one. If you want to sort of back test the gold stocks, go and have a look at MTL and SRB. Diploma, another one, what is trying to hit the screens today. So it's broken out of this base. I always say, watch the first retrace. This has been a really good swing stock for me. You can see a couple of swings I took earlier in last year. I went back to the well, didn't I, on a second retrace? But the reason I went back to the well was because it had a gap up, you know, a real good gap. SNX continues. Obviously, very choppy stock, but doing the business on its growth, isn't it? And there's only a few more. Let's just buzz through these. Games Workshop, yeah, there it is again, that big gap up and then that pullback into the base. This is not talking about Bitcoin. I'll just go back to, you know, Games Workshop, and you know, when it started this big run back here, it was less liquid, inefficient, high growth stock what walked to the beat of its own drum, and that's why it re-rated the way it did. At this end, you can go to Boo, you can go to Fever Tree as well. Sorry, I've got hiccups. See how it started to get wide and loose, and then basically it couldn't break out here, and all my trolls hated me. But you know, I didn't short it. I wasn't short. I was just stating the obvious. If it can't trade this level here, you know, it's not going up anymore. And down it came. It more than halved in price. So it based out again. It did a first retrace, and it started its journey, and then it basically went to sleep again, and it's gapped up. It had a bit of growth actually, and it's gapped up, and now it's kind of it's steady again. It's very steady. I know the disciples out there always say, yeah, but it always under, you know, it always beats, like, you know, it always lowballs its numbers. Yeah, it won't even pass it won't pass a growth stock screen anymore. It's got growth obviously, but it won't pass a, you know, it's not knocking it out of the park on its growth anymore. So it's not the same stock. You know, it's a very different stock than it was here, than it is here. It's just about having expectations about these things. I'm not bearish on anything what's in an uptrend, even if it hasn't got any growth. I'm just talking about, you know, it's a different action you're going to sort of expect. For me, it's now more of an efficient swing stock. You know, it's one what is more liquid, easier to get in and out of on a swing basis, and it's going to whip up and down with the market a bit more because it's more efficient again. Back here, it was inefficient, illiquid, high growth, walks to the beat of its own drum. You know, but you know, as stocks grow, that's what happens. You know, once they make it up into the FTSE 100, you know, they've made it, haven't they? They've made the journey what you want to take part in. And the last few, this is a bit of a marathon, isn't it? We did an hour last night, and we're doing a half an hour this morning. Just fly through the rest of these, see what we see. Beasley, yeah, bit of a choppy trading stock actually, but you know, there's nothing wrong with the trend on that stock. What else have we got? Burberry. Oh, you know, it's going to hit the swing screens tonight if it can close above that swing bar, but forward numbers don't look great on this one, I will say. I don't touch Burberry. I've got a history of being losing every trade I've ever taken on it. 100% record though. Yeah, here's your poster child now. You know, this took over as the leader, didn't it? And MTL went first, and SRB sort of, and we got a buyout in one of the other gold stocks, didn't we? And then this one took over, and yeah, we talked about this last night. Really clean base, first pullback turned into another base, breakout, and it hasn't really pulled back. You got a shallow one here. So yeah, you know, this is where they write stories about these stocks. This is the last low risk sort of, and potentially that one if you were a bit more nimble. You know, for the position trader, you know, I'll stay long as long as it's in an uptrend. You know, doesn't matter whether you're a trader or an investor, what you're trading towards, what lane you're putting these stocks in. You know, would argue that someone who does a little bit of charting and a little bit of fundamentals is always going to be the most, no matter what you name you put on the tin, is always going to be the most productive. NXT, we've got a couple more to go, and then I will leave it there. So if you enjoy what we do there, we do that every night at Trading Bases. I run the screens every day, have been doing that for over 10 years now. And I share all my GTRS leaderboards. They're uploaded daily for the UK and for the US. And yeah, it's you know, if you're a learner and you plug in leaks, learning about trends, learning about growth stocks, or if you're an experienced investor, I'm pretty sure we've got an extremely good tool for you as well there. So I will leave it there. Cheers all.